Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
So and so does. But that acceptance means you have to take instruction, you have to follow. If you just want to enter Krishna consciousness for some kind of show, that is called kapattata. That means he has some other idea. Means one should be very straightforward in Krishna consciousness. To serve Krishna, not for my own sense gratification, Krishna's satisfaction. And I'm prepared to do anything, whatever needs to be done to become a pure devotee. Not that I'll keep 50% of my endeavor for me and 50% of my endeavor for Krishna. Pure devotion means giving everything to Krishna. So this is the training in Krishna consciousness. This is another vital factor. Training. Because spiritually we are like little children. We may be very educated, we may be very expert in this material world, although most of our devotees aren't like that at all. Most of our devotees, they don't fit into this material world properly, which is good because then it makes it easier for them to become devotees. But even if we have so many material qualifications, spiritually we are beginners, we are children, we should always see ourselves like that. So that means we require training. Just like the parents tell the child, do this, don't do this, don't do this. And by repeated instruction, the child comes to understand, I should do this, I should not do this. So that means when one enters spiritual life, one should be as submissive as a child to be able to make proper spiritual advancement. Because practically we need our whole inner mental functions reprogramming. We need our whole mental functioning. It needs changing, reprogramming. Because our whole consciousness is going in the wrong direction. Here Krishna says, Manmana, think of me. But we are very much accustomed to think of everything in the universe except Krishna. Of course, in one sense, everything is Krishna. Maya idam tatam savam jagada vyakta murtina. Everything is, in one sense, Krishna. Matsthani sarva bhutani. Everything is within Krishna. But we're not thinking of Krishna. Because our intelligence is working in the opposite way. Ishadapetyasya viparyayo smriti. Because we are envious of Krishna, our intelligence goes viparit, opposite to Krishna. So that training in Krishna consciousness means training how to think of Krishna. Therefore, we have this program of sadhana bhakti, so that at least for some hours every day, we will be directly hearing and chanting about Krishna. And then, after we have some morning program, hearing and chanting about Krishna, then we have so many activities in the day. So those activities in the day, we have to center them on Krishna also. As Prabhupada writes here in the purport, a devotee should arrange his life in such a way that throughout the 24 hours, he cannot but think of Krishna. So, those who are directly connected with the activities of Krishna consciousness, they're very fortunate. Because their activities are directly in relationship with Krishna. Just like the deity servants are dressing the deity of Krishna, cooking for Krishna. Those who go out to distribute books, they're distributing books about Krishna. They're seeing Krishna on the cover. So they are very fortunate because they have the chance to directly engage in Krishna's service. But because our consciousness, our intelligence is so wicked, then even sometimes we're directly engaged in the service of Krishna, still we don't think of Krishna. Just like we may be sitting in the class, but our mind is 10,000 miles or more away. This is the nature of the wicked, uncontrolled mind. Therefore that training, bring it back, bring the mind back. Yato nischalati manas chanchalam astiram tatas tato niyam yaitat atman yeva vishamnayat. Krishna gives good advice in Bhagavad-gita. Krishna is very sympathetic. He knows our problem. Krishna says, I know that, Arjuna, I know the mind goes away again and again. But Krishna says, bring it back again and again. And then you may say, but still my mind is going away again and again. But Krishna says, bring it back again and again. And this way you can control the mind. How? By that constant practice. Asangshayang mahabaho manodo nigraham chalam. Krishna says, Arjuna complained to Krishna. Chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramati balavadritam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram. He says, Arjuna told Krishna that you're telling me to control the mind, but I have some complaint. I think you're asking me to do something impossible, because the mind is very powerful and obstinate. And to control it seems to me more difficult than trying to stop the wind. So Krishna agreed. Asangshayang mahabaho manodo nigraham chalam. He said, yes, it's a fact. The mind is very difficult to control. But Krishna told Arjuna, it is possible to control the mind. It is possible. If it's not possible, then why is Krishna speaking to anything to Arjuna at all? In the beginning, when Arjuna said to Krishna, I'm so upset, I don't know what to do, and my mind is disturbed, Krishna could have said, well, sorry, too bad. He could have said, well, I'm sorry, let's go and have a drink together to get rid of the problem. Or maybe you should go and see a psychologist. Krishna never said such a nonsense thing. Krishna agreed to become his guru. That means he had the knowledge by which he could help him. Guru means heavy. Does that mean he eats a huge meal every day and becomes fat? If that was the fact, then you could have a pig as a guru. If guru is heavy means that he's fat, then means the pig should become a guru. But guru means heavy with knowledge. Because he has more knowledge, he has the knowledge to help you overcome the problems of life. So Krishna agreed with Arjuna that the mind is very difficult to control. But he said it is possible to control the mind. So what's the secret? So many times devotees ask, how can we control the mind? Because the mind, we can be lifted up or degraded by the mind. So this is the process. Abhyasena tu kauntaya vairagyena chagrihyate. Two things. Practice and renunciation. Practice means constantly practicing to fix the mind on Krishna. That means we may be doing our service, but we're not thinking about Krishna. So when we find our mind going here, there, everywhere, then we should immediately chant, Hare Krishna, bring our mind back. What are we here for? What are we here for? What are we here for? We should ask ourselves. We are here to serve Krishna. That is our goal of life. So when we find our mind has gone way out into space, spaced out, then chant Hare Krishna. Immediately bring the mind back. Then abhyasena tu kauntaya vairagyena chagrihyate. We should also accept the process of renunciation. Renunciation doesn't mean you have to take a bath outside in the winter, although in ISKCON Russia it might mean that also. But renunciation means renunciation of material aspirations. Give up the hope of trying to become successful in this material world. Give up the hope that I will be happy in this material world. Stop thinking that I will be a success. Renouncing all material hopes. Giving ourselves up to Krishna. This mood of surrender. Krishna, whatever happens to me, all I want to do is serve you. That is the meaning of sannyas. Every devotee in Krishna consciousness is expected to be a sannyasi. Sannyas doesn't necessarily mean that he's dressed in this color cloth. But sannyas, even a grihasta can be a sannyasi in one sense. If that means that he has no other desire in his life but to serve Krishna. Of course, grihasta has family, social responsibilities also. And he doesn't neglect them. But if his goal of life is how to please Krishna, and he performs even his family and social obligations with that in mind, then he is a sannyasi. So if one makes this determination in his life, that my life is only for Krishna, and even though the mind wanders and wavers, he practices to bring it back to Krishna. This is the process to control the mind and to become fully Krishna conscious. So there are many, many different factors in advancement in devotion. If we want to be Krishna conscious, if we have that much sincere desire, then any situation of life we can be Krishna conscious. Krishna conscious means ahaituki, apratihata. It cannot be stopped by any external factor. Just like Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj, he was in totally unfavorable circumstances. We may think, well, I'm not getting very good association. Sometimes devotees say like that. But you're not getting as bad association as Prahlad Maharaj, who could only associate with demons, who are always trying to turn him against Krishna. You may think, well, I'm having so many difficulties. But you're not having as many difficulties as Prahlad had. Prahlad was just interested in being Krishna conscious, but he was always being harassed by his father, who tried to kill him in various ways. So ultimately, if we want to be Krishna conscious, then we have the determination to stick to the path. So there are so many different factors in our spiritual advancement. Getting the mercy of Guru and Krishna, hearing very seriously, pleasing Krishna by our service mode. This is the way to understand Krishna. There are so many different factors in our advancement. But one great secret to advancement in Krishna consciousness is if you stop worrying so much about your advancement. Means you don't stop chanting your rounds or anything like that. But instead of thinking all the time, how I can be advanced, how I can be advanced, how I can be advanced, thinking I, me, my interest. Instead, if we think, how can I help others to be Krishna conscious? This is the secret to quick advancement. Preaching is the easy way to understand the Supreme Personality of God. Someone who is always thinking of how to give Krishna to others, then automatically he becomes Krishna conscious. If anyone engages in the preaching activities of Krishna consciousness, means he's always giving Krishna to others. And the more you give Krishna consciousness to others, the more you get yourself. Now we may think, well, I'm so neophyte, how can I give Krishna to others? That may well be true. We cannot neglect our own spiritual advancement. We have to be very careful to hear and chant properly about Krishna. But at any stage of our spiritual life, if we start to think how to give Krishna to others, then we get on the superhighway of spiritual advancement.
Progress.
And actually anyone can do it. It's not very difficult at all. It's not very difficult to ask people to chant Hare Krishna. They may say no. So what did we lose? We didn't lose anything. We said Hare Krishna. They heard also. And if they do chant Hare Krishna, then how much they benefit also. Or try to give others Prabhupada's books. It's not a very difficult thing to do. Of course, to go out all the time and meet non-devotees, that requires someone has to be fixed in Krishna consciousness.
Krishna.
But everyone can try to give books out. Whatever your service is, you can at least go out for some time every week and distribute a few books. And you'll find there's a special taste in that giving Krishna to others. That taste is the taste of receiving Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's special mercy. Those who are fortunate enough to go out daily on book distribution, they can see what a wonderful thing this Krishna consciousness is. There's nothing to compare with the feeling when you see someone going away with one of Prabhupada's books. Someone whose life is completely in ignorance, who's completely misdirected. Now they have one of Prabhupada's books. So distribute books, go out with chanting Pati, chanting Hare Krishna. Somehow or other, get involved in giving Krishna to others. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very merciful. We are serious. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is ready to give us unlimited mercy. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu especially gives his mercy to those who try to fulfill his mission. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission is to spread Krishna consciousness to every town and village. Prithivite ache, jato nagaradi gram, sabatra pracha hoibe moranam. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu predicted that Krishna consciousness would spread to every town and village in the world. We don't know how that's going to happen. Materially, we cannot imagine. That is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's wish. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One of his qualities is Satya Sankalpa. Whatever he wants must come to pass. This verse is from Chaitanya Bhagavat. So there were so many devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Bengal. They used to read this Chaitanya Bhagavat. And they would read and they would think, well, that's interesting. Krishna consciousness will spread to every town and village in the world. Maybe that means every town and village in Bengal. Maybe it's just something written poetically. That's what they used to think. They used to think like that because they could not imagine that Krishna consciousness would actually spread to every town and village in the world. I mean, how could Americans and Russians become devotees of Krishna? That's not possible. They're all meat-eaters and disgusting. Krishna consciousness is for very sophisticated Bengalis. You can't understand Krishna consciousness unless you speak Bengali and Sanskrit. That's what they used to think.
Так они думают.
They were wrong because Prabhupada showed that Krishna consciousness can be spread everywhere. Practically, at 35 years ago, Prabhupada was the only person on this planet who believed that Krishna consciousness could be spread to every town and village in the world.
Who could distribute?
Who believed it possible. No one else believed it was possible. No one else believed that the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could actually spread all over the world. And even a few years ago, we were thinking, how is it possible that Krishna consciousness could spread all over Russia and all these countries? It just seemed impossible. We were thinking, well, maybe sometime in future, somehow Russia will change and then Krishna consciousness can spread. And sometimes you'd hear our devotees, they'll be discussing international politics. When will there be a nuclear war? Because they were thinking maybe after a nuclear war we could preach in Russia. But there was no nuclear war. Just all of a sudden, there was Krishna consciousness being preached openly in Russia. How is it possible? Lord Chaitanya's mercy. You can't measure by any material means. Lord Chaitanya wants something, it must come to happen. If we get involved with Lord Chaitanya's mercy, we'll see wonderful things happen, even in our own lives. Our movement is not meant for sitting back and watching. This movement is for getting involved in. We may think, well, I don't like this devotee, I don't like that devotee, and it's too much passion. Never mind about all the little petty disturbances. This movement is meant for changing the misdirected civilization. It's not going to change by everyone just sitting back and chanting their rounds only. We need many devotees to get involved fully. Fully means as fully as you can. If you're a grihasta, preach also. Preach to your family members. Preach to the people at work. Preach as best you can. And if you're not married, if you don't have any family commitments, then come and join the army. Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan army. If you want Lord Chaitanya's mercy, you can't expect to get it sitting at home. There's so much work to do for spreading Krishna consciousness. Every day, so many people are dying and going to hell because they didn't get Prabhupada's book. Every day that goes past without our trying to do something to spread this movement means time is lost. You may think, well, if I get too much involved in preaching, it's too much disturbance for my mind. I'd rather sit at home peacefully and chant very sweetly and read a little and sleep a little or a lot.
Или побольше.
But if I go to the temple, they won't allow me to sleep.
Спать.
Even if I try to sleep during Bhagavad-gita class in the corner, someone will wake me up. So it's too much austerity. But what austerity? What does it matter if there's a little difficulty if we're getting the mercy of Krishna? Even anything material, you can't expect anything material good to happen to you unless you make some effort. You don't become a millionaire businessman by sleeping 15 hours a day. You don't become an expert chess player or football player or cook or anything without endeavor, without hard work. So if we're to be advanced devotees of Krishna, we have to make some serious endeavor. In Bengali it said, Kashtana karle keshta milibena. Unless you take some difficulty, you can't get Krishna. You see that all the great devotees, they became great. How? By taking some difficulty in Krishna's service. You think, Hanuman, Arjuna, Prahlad Maharaj, Prabhupada. Why are we glorifying Prabhupada so much? There were so many devotees in Vrindavan. They were sitting and chanting Hare Krishna, celebrating their centennial. We're celebrating Prabhupada's centennial because he had the mercy to come and take the difficulty of saving us. So what is that difficulty? That difficulty is not difficulty. Difficulty in devotional service is ecstasy. You will find that if you do it. I think any of us who have gone through many difficulties in Krishna's service, we can experience that. Through so many difficulties, so many problems, how to serve Krishna. Then, just when you think that your brain's going to burst into a million pieces, then you think, oh, Krishna. Very strong remembrance of Krishna. Someone was asking, how do we know if Guru is pleased with us? Well, here's one answer.
Но есть один ответ.
If you're giving yourself 100% to Krishna, then you can be sure that Guru is pleased with you. Krishna says, that much you give yourself to me, I give myself to you. Is that not a good proposition? Krishna says, I'm willing to give myself to you fully. All we have to do is give ourselves fully to Krishna. This is the way we can be fully Krishna conscious. Means giving ourselves fully to Krishna. Do whatever we have to do to get Krishna's mercy. Practically means, in this modern age, that we should dedicate ourselves to the preaching mission. Preaching mission means this whole movement is meant for preaching. Who is cooking for the deities should think, let me cook very nicely so that Gaur Nitai will be pleased and they'll bless all the book distributors and the preachers. And all the devotees, they have to take prasad, so let me cook very nicely so that they'll also be satisfied and they'll be infused to go on in their service. So this kind of attitude, everybody in every department giving themselves to Krishna, this will create a very enlivening atmosphere in the temple. And you can see those devotees who give themselves to Krishna in this way, they get the result. And those who are, who are little bit giving themselves to Krishna and little bit holding back, they don't become very blissful. So Krishna says, always think of me, become my devotee. We should have faith in Krishna. That Krishna says, if you do this, then you will come to me. This is our desired goal of life. to go back home, back to Godhead, by always thinking of Krishna and becoming his pure devotee. So, let us do it. Many times Prabhupada said that we can go back to Godhead in this very lifetime if we apply ourselves fully to the Krishna consciousness. So, let us do it. What is the difficulty? There's no difficulty. There's no difficulty to chant Hare Krishna. There's no difficulty to take prasad. There's no difficulty to hear Srimad Bhagavatam class. And even there may be some little difficulty here and there. That is insignificant. That is little test from Krishna to see how serious we are to serve.